Oh man, good morning. What is it? August 4? Is it August 4, dear? Yeah, she says. She's my calendar, my treasure. She's my everything. Oh my. Barn swallows, great blue herons already this morning. August 4 was a Tuesday. You know, when you get to be our age, you don't think of things in the same way anymore. Time-wise. Anyway, it must be about 50 years ago, those look like nighthawks up there. Two of them. You go back to the conservation age, and was it Earth Days and all kinds of ecology events and activities. 5 Canada geese flying by. We're down here next to the spill house on the lake below the dam there. And it looks like they mowed the grass down here actually. Interesting. Anyway, I wanted to talk about conservation and how it relates to the bald eagles. And then maybe by extension, you can think about other creatures and other ways of being a conservator or a conservation specialist today. And it's a different environment than it was back then. It probably, and I'm not fully engrossed in it, but it probably started out of Rachel Carson's book Silent Spring, which was an attempt to get the chemical companies to pay attention to the damage, whether possible damage or real damage, and there was a lot of real damage to the environment that pesticides like DDT, for instance, caused to the environment. Now you got to understand DDT was a miracle drug for many, especially right around World War II. It became a destroyer of mosquitoes, really, which was killing. Apparently millions of people died from malaria and perhaps some other mosquito borne diseases. So DDT had a pretty good name for a while. It was a chemical compound. Die this, die that, try this. I can't even remember all the words in the DDT formula. Invented probably, or compounded probably in the late 1800s by a chemist in Europe. Was he Swiss or German? I can't remember. But it really didn't have its heyday until, maybe the 30s and 40s, when it became a pretty useful compound. But then it was discovered that it was inhibiting the calcium content, or the calcium usefulness in not just bald eagles, but in birds' bodies, and particularly raptors. I think it had a big effect on raptors, and kind of the peregrine falcon, for instance, was more or less the poster child for basically getting rid of DDT. And the eagle took in an important role as well. But anyway, a lot of raptors, most raptors have recovered quite well after that time, but there's some raptors like the American kestrel, which is a beautiful small-sized raptor. It hasn't totally recovered, and it's still struggling from some other things, of course. But anyway, there's about 5 reasons that I can come up with to worry about the future of some of these birds. One of them is chemicals, obviously, whether it's fertilizers or pesticides. Of course, those things don't seem to have the immediate effect today as DDT did on the birth rate of bald eagles and other raptors, other birds. But they have a more toxic and cumulative effect today, I think. And so we're still worried about those types of intrusions into the environment. I'm going to walk past this gal here. All right. So, chemicals, and all humanity should be concerned about chemicals. We banned DDT, at least in the US, and probably quite a few places. I think it still gets used in Africa, and I think it's only made in one place, maybe in India. Anyway, that's from some reading in the last year. I don't have personal knowledge of all that. But it's banned in the US, and that's a good thing. We didn't know how to replace all the effects of DDT's pesticide use, but we banned it anyway. And so all I'm trying to say is you make these trade-offs, and sometimes they appear really good, and sometimes not so much. But that was a trade-off that in the long run seems like it was the wise thing to do, the best thing to do. And then habitat is the second one that I wanted to talk about. I'm looking at beer cans all over the beach here. They'll come along and clean it up, I'm sure, pretty quick. Otherwise, I might do it. But habitat loss, which is kind of interesting because the bald eagles here, we have a pair, Ed and Abby, they settled in. They settled in right away on top of a golf course, which is way over there a little bit, about 2,000 feet or so on the other side of the lake there. So somehow they took a man-made environment, which this whole section of land and water is, and they took a man-made environment and made it their home. And it looks natural, it is natural, but it was designed by men. Before this, it was cornfields, not even pastures. Before that, it was a grassland, probably something approaching the tall grass prairie. So things change, places change, the environment changes. Usually it's man-made changes. But the question then becomes, can eagles and other creatures adapt? And of course they have here. They have here to this man-made influenced environment. The eagles are getting very comfortable with humans. And of course that begs another set of questions. In the 50s, 60s, 70s, there was a lot of information that, the eagles are going to need large, wide open spaces. And we found some of that to be true. They also need water. And so they found this water, and that may be their main attraction to this place, in spite of other things that you would seem to distract or detract. They've grown comfortable here, it appears, and they've adapted. We've seen them 20 feet away from us, flying at us, going over our heads and stuff. And the people walking on the golf course, they're 80 feet underneath. They have mowers and trimmers and all kinds of big equipment going, and the eagles seem like they're doing just fine. And that's not only true here, it's true in other places. And there's a number of man-made lakes, or call them reservoirs, or catchment basins, whatever you want, where the eagles are doing well in places like Omaha and other places. But they need the water. And so that's a hint that water conservation, water protection. Those are important issues. But it's also important to let the science lead you to where it goes. And then learn how to persuade people to take advantage of the science. Sometimes that wasn't done with DDT. It was just an all-out assault on chemicals in general. And whether you like that or not, we're going to live with some chemicals in our lives. I don't like it very much, but it's part of what living is today. We're a chemical society. Can we get some more of it out of the water? I think so. I think we'd have to. I test the waters when I can, particularly for nitrates. I got a test kit that I got from the Isaac Walton League. And it's pretty interesting to try and see the health of your water. That's an important issue. When I was teaching survival training to pilots in the Army, you had 4 things: fire, food, shelter, and water. If you could get those things together behind enemy lines, well, you could survive. And eventually you could thrive and return to a healthy state and a healthy place in life. You got to have that water. You can run out of water in a day or 2 or 3 and you're in big trouble. So we need good, healthy, clean water. And funny thing, that's what the eagles need. They need good, clean, healthy, active water, not only for their daily sustenance, but for their food. That's really their main food source. And we're finding out more and more about birds. Their whole life, their patterns, their migration, and so forth is based on food availability. And these guys stay through the winter, and they eat the bream and bluegills that the ice fishermen throw on the ice for them. So they managed to get through all the winter. Awesome. Anyway, I care very much about the recovery. When I was young, I was in Scouts, and so much of our activity was based on conservation in the Boy Scouts of America. And I loved it. We would go clean up riversides and some of the most polluted rivers in the country, Passaic River in New Jersey. One time my father painted a big banner and we took it to a Yankees game. I love 2 things: the Yankees, baseball, and then being in the outdoors. So he painted this banner, "Pollution Solution, a Yankee Cleanup." I remember posting that thing. I think it got on TV. Anyway, we love what we have out here. And naturally you want to keep it. You want to conserve it. You want to protect it. And that's a good thing. That's a set of good ways of thinking about your future and other people's futures, including your children, your offspring, and such. Anyway, I think there's some other things. Lead shot. What else is a threat to, in the old days, back in John James Audubon's day, they just shot the birds so they could take pictures, and not pictures, but paint pictures of them, and shooting and stealing the eggs. That was all normal back then. The ornithologists of that day were they were just fine with taking young, taking the eggs, killing the birds. And for a long time, there was even a bounty in Alaska, maybe some other places. I think it was 50 cents for an eagle, went up to $1, maybe more. Yeah, it was fine killing them. I don't think that's that much of a threat today. People are concerned that, like farmers might shoot them because they take chickens or something. I don't think that happens nearly nearly as much. And there's as much as $100,000 fine and maybe a year in jail if you kill an eagle, I think, possibly. Anyway, it's changed. So there are still some threats, and they can be real, but they're not very common. Anyway, the habitat, and if you're watching the two eagles, was it Jackie and Shadow out in California, she's struggling, Jackie is. Yesterday they reported that she was doing worse. So, but they've got a very special habitat, and they're trying to preserve it, and they're raising money to buy some of the land around their nest. And that's a good thing because their nests are usually located next to the water, which is where a lot of humans want to locate their nests as well. So we can afford to buy some of that land up and preserve it or conserve it, whatever you want to call it. Anyway, do your part. Enjoy the eagles. There are people worried about doxing them, you know what doxing is, right? Where you go over and take pictures of the nest and you tell everybody in the community where the bird is. And I think we're past that stage. I think most people in the community know where the eagles are in the nests. And the recovery program in Nebraska, for instance, started out, there was no eagles in the state back in the, I suppose, late 50s, late 60s, mid 60s. So they wanted to recover and get 10 pairs of bald eagles. Well, the state website, Fish and Game website, says there's probably between 100 and 200 pairs now. And that was several years ago. So I'm guessing it's over 200 pairs throughout the state. So there's been a huge, the word successful doesn't do it justice, but huge successful recovery program in place. Continue it. Think about it. Think about how you can be a part of not only the bald eagle, which is to me the most beautiful example, but all of the wildlife around you. Become a part of the conservation movement yourself. All right, that was Eagle Talk number 3 for Absorption 77. We'll see you later.